Hello you guys, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. This is my 4th time filming this because, shocker, take a shot every time I complain about the landscapers. Welcome to my October reset, which is also going to kind of somewhat include November as well, because I've decided for the first time in Carter's monthly reset history, I'm actually skipping a month, and that's just because the timing of it doesn't really make sense to reset. We moved the last week of October, we're in our new house for a week, and then we leave for Disney, which that trip's just been planned for months and we were not canceling it. And so I figured once we're back from Disney mid-November, we'll do like a big epic life reset once we have our new like bill numbers and our new mortgage and all that stuff. Just an FYI if you're looking out for it, because I know you guys are always DMing me. I literally had like 3 DMs this morning being like, hey girl, like where's your monthly reset at? I know you guys love them as much as I love filming them, so just a heads up, there will not be a reset for November. This reset's going to be a tiny bit different than other resets just because it's really tailored to where I am in life right now with moving, and I think that is really important to talk about because resets, while like goal setting and all that stuff is so fun, every month you're going to have something different going on, you're going to have big life events come up, and it's super important to tailor your resets to what you're going through. So a lot of this month has to do with like packing lists, moving expenses, all that stuff. And yeah, I also haven't decided if I'm gonna do a budget this month. Honestly, there's nothing going on with the budget, and it's a little sad because we're just doing a very low spend right now. We're putting money aside for moving expenses, and I don't know what my bills are gonna look like in October because there's gonna be just like some double payments. And so I honestly don't really think I'm gonna do a budget this month. Maybe we could close out our budget in this video if I have time. But I did say going forward they would be separate, and they are, but obviously moving, just your whole life feels chaotic. So last month the reset was a little on the, I wouldn't say boring side, but I didn't really set many goals. I was just taking a break to focus on content creation for September since it's really busy, and October is gearing up to be even busier, which is amazing. I'm not complaining, but I'm excited to reintegrate the goals back in there, and there's some fun new segments for this month. So let me do a little recap of what we're gonna do. We're gonna have all of our original segments, so going over our October goals, talking about our current favorites, the books that I read this month, and then some new things I want to do just for this month is make some lists. I'm such a big list person, so I want to make a list of spaces to declutter, a list of things I want to sell, and then a new home wish list, as well as maybe just kind of refresh my moving expenses page and kind of work on that so I know how much to put aside for October. That's what you can look forward to in today's video, and I'm super excited. This is the great thing about Notion. As much as I miss doing my goals manually, which a bunch of you guys asked, and it's actually because I have really bad carpal tunnel from horseback riding my whole life, and so it's just a lot easier to do it on Notion than to, like, you know, write everything down by hand. You actually probably notice I don't really write much out by hand at all anymore, except if I'm making like a to-do list or using my planner. I do a lot of it digitally because of my carpal tunnel. So anyways, fun fact for you guys, I'm 26 and I have carpal tunnel. The nice thing about Notion is I could just like pull it up on my phone, and here we go. I guess we could do a quick reflection on September because September was so fun. We did so many fall things, and it was really a month for us to slow down and really relax and do absolutely nothing before we like packed and everything kind of got busy in October. So we had a lot of time on the weekends spent relaxing, going to farmers markets, reading, watching F1, just like hanging out at home. It was really, really nice. It was also our 4-year, wait, no, 4-year anniversary or 3? 4-year anniversary, that's crazy. It was obviously also a big year because it was our first anniversary engaged. And what else did we celebrate this month? I hit 90K on YouTube, which I didn't get the chance to mention in my last video, but thank you guys so much. I honestly am at a loss for words. Like, I have no words. I'm honestly shocked. And I just love this community. We've built so much. Every day I wake up to just so many sweet comments from you guys, and yeah, I appreciate you guys and love you guys so much, and I love that you love our corner of the internet, and I'm just so grateful. And yeah, but September was honestly a really, really fun month. We also went to Toronto for work, which was a lot of fun too. And yeah, I also hit some really big business milestones that I obviously can't really talk about, but I did sign one of my biggest brand deals yet, which is crazy, company-wise, then also just like money-wise. And so it was a crazy month, honestly, a whirlwind month, I will say. And go over my September goals. You guys know for September, my main focus was business goals, and I actually was able to hit all of those. And this was like a bit of a trial month. I really love, sorry, one sec. Let's take a sip of this tea because I have not sipped it at all yet. Goals for my business were to hit 90K, which we did. Upload short form content 3 times a week, which I also did. I mentioned this last month, but I feel like I'm in a really good groove and balance of long form and short form content. They both have their place. YouTube is my baby. I'm not going anywhere, but it has been fun. And I was saying this, who was I DMing? I think it was Selena, actually. I was DMing her and we were both talking about short form content and how the nice thing about short form is there is a bit more of that, if you have an idea, you can just like roll with it on the spot, whereas like YouTube requires a bit more thought. And so sometimes it's fun because I decided to, you know, start my decluttering series on TikTok, whereas like a YouTube video that would have taken a lot more time. And so I love having both, and I found a really good groove with short form content and also YouTube. And then signed 2 new sponsors for September, October. I should have probably just said all-encompassing Q4. And we did that, which is super exciting. And I'm realizing now that I should probably move over to make room on the screen for my goals. So I know the candle was a vibe, but we had to cut her out for a sec. Goals for October and November. I can't not do this with the cup of tea. It's just like warm and cozy. It's just the prop, okay? She is the moment of the video. I just have to be holding it, okay? I'm sorry if it bothers anybody. But I wanted to set goals that were either one-off goals for October, November, or goals that would be somewhat easy to achieve. Like I didn't really want any like far-fetched stretch work hard goals this month, just with moving obviously. So first category, we're bringing back the personal goals, and the first one is to have better boundaries when we're moving. Now I just want to preface this by saying that boundaries is something I've been working on for the last few years, and I just look back on our first move and I was so grateful and lucky that we had friends and family be able to move us. But I think I was just still at a point in our relationship where I felt like very fresh in where like my role in the family, and I couldn't really speak up for myself or have boundaries. This time around, we're just doing things a bit different. As you guys know, I am a very introverted person, and I think it also has to do too with the moving experience as a whole. The first time we moved was very rushed. It was very, overall just felt very rushed to us. I just want to have better boundaries, and what I mean by that is, you know, we told everyone we don't want anyone at our walkthrough and we don't want anyone there the day that we move in. We will invite people over when we're ready to invite people over, and I mean that with love and like all the love in the world, even my own family, but really just want to be able to soak this up for ourselves and enjoy it, because I don't think we got to do that with this house. We had family and friends move us our first day, and then, you know, we didn't have it in us to like kick people out when we were tired, and people started unpacking for us, and I got like really anxious. I vividly remember having a panic attack and like being on the verge of throwing up in the bathroom because I was just so overwhelmed, and like my social battery was tapped out, but we couldn't ask people to leave, and we were just, yeah, we decided this time to do things a bit different. And we did actually hire movers this time just because we are moving on a Friday and we weren't going to ask anyone to take the day off of work. But I just wanted to be better about setting that boundary. I really want to be able to enjoy with my little family this experience of moving to our dream home and hopefully our forever home, and I just want to be able to take that in, pop some champagne, order some pizza, and sit on the floor and eat it without having people like coming in to see the house. Hopefully that makes sense, and hopefully it's like, I hope I said it with love and people understand where I'm coming from, but it was really important for me to set that boundary this time, and it's something I discussed with Matt and he agreed on as well, to be ahead on school, at least a week ahead. If you watched the last vlog, you would know I'm just a busy gal, and sometimes I wonder why I'm in school and like finishing up grad school, because I feel like I don't have the time for it. And so I really want to get back into the routine of carving aside some time to just get ahead on discussion boards and assignments. I find it really hard settling back into the fall semester because I've had the whole, obviously, summer off, and so it's just getting back into that routine of being a week ahead. Next is to have one solo date day. I feel like I've been slacking on that. I mean, I guess I did it in Toronto, but I want to get back into my routine of having a solo date day every month. No book buying unless it's a Kindle Daily Deal. I feel like I have a lot of books to read, and I will never say no to a Kindle Daily Deal because they're just such good prices for such good books. But other than that, I don't really need any physical books. All of my pre-orders for new books in October are already done. And so yeah, I don't want to do any additional book buying unless it's like under $3 on Kindle. And then the last one is just less mindless scrolling throughout the day. I feel like I've just gotten into the bad habit of like when I want to take a 5-minute break from work, just like scrolling on my phone, and I just want to stop doing that. Business, I want to keep up with short form uploads, whatever feels good. I'm not really going to put any pressure on myself, especially the month that we're moving. So if it's twice a week, if it's 4 times a week, whatever feels good in the moment. I want to finalize our Disney trip in November. We are shuffling our trip by a day. Like we're going to go a day earlier and come home a day earlier. And so I just need to kind of shuffle some stuff around, like our hotel, and we are like potentially working with Disney again. And so we're just kind of trying to finalize some details. I'd also like to finalize the dates for all of my collabs. I took on a lot. Like I'm back to my normal amount of around 3 collabs a month for Q4, and I took a lot of these on before we finalized moving dates, and so I just want to get all the dates finalized, get everything sorted out. I'm going into October with a lot of unknowns, and that just gives me anxiety in general, and especially with moving and then going on a trip. I just want to make sure that I have everything finalized, all the dates inputted. I like to only do 1 collab a week max, so I just want to make sure they're spaced out enough. And then I also want to film a reading vlog. I feel like I get nervous. I love filming like bookstore vlogs and stuff, but reading vlogs, I'm just like nervous people are gonna think it's boring, so I never film them. But I want to push myself to film 1 this month, which I've already started, but I start a lot of reading vlogs and never post them. So I'm holding myself to it. Then finance, we have work on our new budget. As our new numbers come in, put them in the budget, which is why I'm not doing a budget with me this month. Our mortgage, that I don't think we're gonna find out until the end of October when we have our like final meeting with the bank. Same with our utilities. There's just like a lot of unknowns right now. We're obviously going to be in the long run saving money because we won't be paying $400 in condo fees every month. But as I get those numbers, I want to plug them in and kind of see what we're working with. I also want to focus on moving and getting settled before saving again. As you guys know, we had a little bit of a rough August, September. I had to drain my TFSA that I worked so hard on this year to pay my taxes because there was a little boo-boo in my taxes. Yeah, I'm getting a check back from the IRS for the rest of my taxes, but there was just like a bit of a mishap, and I'm very overwhelmed right now, and I'm very sad because I feel like I worked really, really hard, but it was sadly like the only like alternative we had. I just want to remember that like it's okay to move and get settled before getting back into a good routine of saving and investing again. I'm obviously keeping up with my minimums, but I just, I would like to replenish my emergency fund. It's, it's a little depleted. It's not fully depleted, but I would like to see it a little bit higher. And so I just want to remind myself that it's okay. It's going to get done with time. You can't do everything in 1 month. And I just need to continuously remind myself of that. So just put low spend on personal items. I'd rather put that money towards when we move in buying things for our home instead of just like random stuff. So I don't need more fall decor, which I've been pretty good about, but like I especially also don't need any clothing. I'm putting myself on a clothing buying ban. Once again, I don't have a bad relationship with spending money on clothes for myself, but I just don't need anything. So holding ourselves to that. Under relationship, I just have prioritized date nights even while packing and moving. And then I'd like to go to the movies once. I really want to go see Haunting in Venice. And so I'm making that a goal that we prioritize our date nights even while we're packing and moving, and make it fun. Like order a pizza, have some wine, and then pack for a few hours and then watch a movie or something. So those are all of my goals for October/November-ish. And yeah, I'm really happy with them. You probably can tell they're just like a lot of like one-off goals or just like things I have to do that I turned into a goal, right? And I just have some like fun little lists to like share with you guys. I already made them, but I wanted to share them. So I have a little decluttering checklist, which I actually started a little like declutter the house with me series on TikTok. And then as I'm going, I'm kind of packing that stuff as well. I also made a moving prep checklist, which just has some things that we need to do before we move, like canceling gym memberships, emailing the lawyers, and all that kind of stuff. So just started a little bit of a new home wish list. We are taking a lot of furniture with us, but there are some things that I want to, go thrifting, go to the antique store, Facebook Marketplace, all that stuff. Two things I know I want to buy new. I really want a Vitamix blender. I had one growing up and we used it. It was great. We have a Ninja right now, which is also good, but the motor has gone on it and like rust like seeps into the smoothie. It's disgusting. So I feel lost without my smoothies. I'm such a big smoothie person. So I'd like to look into one of those, do my research, maybe look at Costco and see. I'd also like to get a ruggable runner for the kitchen. I really miss having like an anti-fatigue mat in the kitchen. And I love Ruggable and the concept of like being able to wash it. And I just think they have really beautiful design. So I want to look into that as well. And then just some things that I know that we're going to want in the next few months. A console table, is that what it's called? Or a media unit for our TV, since we'll have a big living room and we'll actually be able to fit one in there. Bookcases, of course. I'm still trying to decide which room, which you guys will see a whole empty house tour, but I'm trying to decide which room I'm going to do my office in, if I want to have my library in my office, if I want it to be in a separate room. We haven't really decided yet. So yeah, updates to come. A dining table and a coffee table. Those are pretty immediate things we'll have to get in the next little bit, since we're not going to bring this coffee table and we're not bringing this dining table. So just want to put things on my radar. That way I can start making spreadsheets, eyeing things on Facebook Marketplace, putting the bell notification on Facebook Marketplace, all that kind of stuff. My current favorites, and then we will do a little bit of moving expenses. I might just quickly go through my budget for this month. I know some of you guys don't like it when it's all in one, but I just like how the monthly resets are never the same, honestly. So I might include that, but I'm just not gonna do a whole separate video this month because I don't have much to talk about. But let's go through my favorites. Favorite movie and TV shows. I watched Love at First Sight with Haley Lu Richardson, which she is one of my favorite actresses in the whole entire world. So anything with her, is an auto watch. I don't care what it is. And it was cute. I'm gonna give it like a 7 on 10. I heard it's based on a book. It's funny because Morgan and I were like literally texting about this the other night, giving each other our reviews, and it was really cute, but I expected more from it. I loved the concept, but I didn't realize it was going to take place over the span of like 48 hours. Like, it was a little too insta-lovey for me, but still a fun like Friday. I think I watched it like a Friday night when Matt was like at a concert with a glass of wine, and it was cute, but nothing like revolutionary. Matt and I are also rewatching How to Get Away with Murder. Well, I'm rewatching it. Matt never watched past the first season, and let me tell you, that show is like ultimate top tier for me. Like, it is in my top 5 shows of all time. I love it. I love just all of the effing wittiness and the banter. I just love all of their relationships. Like, the banter in the show is so good. Like, I laugh so many times in each episode, and I find watching it the second time is so much more fun. And that probably goes for any like murder mystery thriller type of show, because the first time you're watching it, it's like very much big picture and you're just trying to figure out what's going on, you know, because obviously How to Get Away with Murder does like the flashbacks, and you know, the first season you're trying to figure out who killed Lila, and the second time you can take in all the little detail and the like, conversations more. And so it's honestly so much fun watching it a second and third time. Favorite book of the month, definitely House of Paula, which I will talk about after when I do my monthly wrap up. But that book was so weird, but I couldn't put it down. And it's one of those books you just like have to go into a blind, and I don't even know how to describe it for you guys. It's like a combination of magical realism meets gothic fairy tale meets like thriller murder mystery. It's so weird, but it's so good. It's about these 3 sisters who as children went and they didn't go missing, but like they disappeared for a month, and they came back, but they had like different colored eyes and like all white hair, and it became this like national like news thing about how these like 3 sisters came back, but they look different. And then fast forward, they're adults and one of the sisters goes missing, and it's just so good. It's like equally parts gothic but feminine. There's like a big flower element in it, and I did not think I would enjoy it as much as I did. It was amazing. Amazing. I gave it 4 stars. I did have a 5-star read this month, but it was a reread, which I'm not counting. I read the 5th year anniversary of Love Letter to Whiskey, which is one of my favorite romance books of all time, but I didn't think that was fair to put as my favorite book because I've already read it. But technically it's a new book because it has the novella at the end. I don't know, but anyways. If we're talking overall favorite book of the month, it was Love Letter to Whiskey, but new book, House of Paula. Favorite memory, Matt and I are starting a new tradition where we eat cinnamon buns, and I say we're starting a new tradition. We did it once, but it was such a vibe that we are gonna keep doing it. I didn't get any clips or anything. It was a Sunday morning, obviously, because we were watching F1, but I got us cinnamon buns from Sobeys, which those are the superior cinnamon buns, okay? and we had coffee and cinnamon buns and watched F1, and it was also just like a really good race, honestly, and it was just such a vibe. And it's really nice having a sport that Matt and I both enjoy watching, because I like football-ish, Matt doesn't watch football, we don't really watch hockey, and so it's nice having something we can bond over together. Speaking of favorite podcasts in F1, I'm obsessed with the Red Flags podcast. I recently found it about a month or two ago, and these men are hilarious. So funny. The literal synopsis on Spotify says, listen to two childhood enemies turned best friends turned F1 husbands discuss all the topics you really want to hear about. Like who's the hottest driver, which team has the most daddy energy, and so much more. We're the Red Flags, a podcast about Formula One for little sluts who live the drama. Like it's so funny. And this week's episode specifically, they were like talking about Fernando when he was like, you throw me to the lions. And I was like on the floor laughing. It's so funny if you're into F1, so I highly recommend. Favorite creators. I don't have a ton of new ones this month, but I'm obsessed, I will say, with Peru's Project. I think is her handle on everything. I've been following her on TikTok for forever, and I didn't realize she had a YouTube channel, which that's like the best. And she just films a ton of really cozy reading vlogs, and I honestly just like love her TikToks as well. And then I have two, can I even share TikTok like recs on here? I feel like every video I share so many YouTube creators, so I wanted to share some TikTok ones. I'm obsessed with this girl. Her name is Glow, and she is so funny. She just talks about coffee and baking, but she like vlogs it, and her personality is just so funny, and I'm just obsessed with her. So go watch her TikToks because she is a hoot and a holler. And same with, I recently found, which I'm late to the game I think, Autumn Accord. She lives in Maine, and she's like a thrifter. She got chaotic energy. Like she kind of reminds me of myself, and I just love her TikToks so much. So definitely her as well. Favorite products. I got some goodies. I got two snacks, one Chomps. We finally got Chomps in Canada. I get them on Amazon. They're just so good. They're like the superior, I was gonna say meat stick, but that sounds so inappropriate. Like, what do you call that? Like a jerky stick? A meat stick? It's kind of what it's called. Whatever you call it, it's so good. We also got this in Canada, which I've talked about in vlogs, Bear Bells protein bars, specifically the crispy crunch flavor. Divine. So good. It tastes like a Twix, literally identical to a Twix. And if you know me, you know I'm very picky about my protein bars, and this is top tier. Obviously the Ninja Creamy, I use it a ton, but I am an ice cream lover, so I've been having so much fun making it every night and just like sneaking in a little extra protein. Honestly amazing. I probably use it every other night or every night. I love it so much. I also found a new brow gel, which is amazing. Can we take a second for my brows today? I know they don't look anything revolutionary, but I have a really hard time finding a brow gel that lets my little hairs here stay up, because they tend to just kind of go this way, and it looks like I have like rounded eyebrows. I found this brow gel. The name is escaping me. I believe it's from NYX, and that shit holds your brows all day long. It's so good. So good. So that is a favorite as well. And then also my Tim Hortons apple cinnamon tea, which I get at the grocery store. You can also get on Amazon and probably in Tim Hortons stores. And that is also divine. Divine. Those are the things that I genuinely use and love every single day of my life. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else off the top of my head that I can think of. Next thing I want to do is just quickly go over my budget, which I know is not for everybody, so you can skip ahead if you want to my monthly wrap up. But I'm gonna go ahead and grab my computer, and I want to just go over my budget super quick for October, see what I have left over, and then also my moving expenses. Sorry if the lighting changed a little bit. I'm also just realizing now this is gonna drive me bonkers when I'm editing, that there's a piece of straight hair. I'm so sorry. I'm just gonna hide her away a little bit. But if you watch the Getting Ready for Fall, no, what was it called? Getting My Life Together. We sold the bookcases, and it's honestly such a vibe to just have stacks of books everywhere with like little pumpkins. Like it's kind of cute, and I'm kind of living for this. So there's no caffeine in that tea, and I am bouncing off the effing walls right now. Got my computer. I'm gonna screen share my moving expenses spreadsheet because it has a lot of like mortgage numbers and stuff, and while I'm gonna do a whole cost breakdown once we move, there's just like a lot of numbers that I just like don't feel like blurring out. So I'm just gonna give you a little, I feel like I look a little washed out right now, and I'm gonna have to bring you guys down. There we go. Am I too dark? Let me know. But I have a whole section on my Notion, which if you missed it, I did a whole how I organize my weeks video with a little Notion tour on it. I'm also realizing now too that I have a double ring stack on, and no, we're not married. Whenever I do this, people always comment, like, did you guys elope? No, trust me, you'll know when we did, or maybe you won't, but I just like the look of it sometimes. Matt gets so mad at me, but I'm like, it doesn't matter. It's just cute, okay? Whatever. I'm a married woman basically anyways. Closing costs. Let's go through it and we can just kind of go through that together, I guess. I could actually maybe put a screenshot of this and then put myself in the corner like I'm screen sharing it. But basically, here is like our low closing cost thing, and I have two different categories. I have out of pocket and then sale/bridge loan, because we are obviously selling this house and buying another house, and because we made a bit of proceeds on this house, we're able to use that to pay for things for the next house, so not a lot is coming out of pocket. So this one's tricky. Home deposit. We technically paid that out of pocket, but it comes off the purchase price of your house. But I'm out $2,500 of my savings, so I consider that out of pocket. It's kind of just necessary to buy a house, and I don't know what that's called in the States. I believe it might be called earnest money, but basically you normally put 1% down of your purchase price to, well, you have to put a deposit down. So anyways, yeah, we did that. Land transfer tax, we have to pay that because we're not first-time home buyers anymore. And don't even ask me what land transfer tax is because I have no idea. It's basically a way, it literally says on this website, this is a way to generate revenue for the government. Shocker. Shocker, more money going in the government's pocket for what? They didn't even take my garbage this week. For them to never make progress in the LRT, if you live in Ottawa, you know what I'm talking about. Like, anyways. Our land transfer tax is based on the price of our house, and so I believe it's $6,200 for us, and that is coming from our bridge loan. What other costs do we have? Oh, we have home inspection on house number 1, which is the cutie cottage that we put an offer in on and then retracted because our house wasn't selling. We obviously had to pay for that out of pocket. That was $1,200. Lawyer and legal fees, I'm actually going to split this up because we have to pay obviously 2 different transactions because we're buying and selling, and so one of those is coming out of our pocket, and then I believe the other one is just coming from the sale of our house. So I need to split those up and get the exact amount, but I believe it's, yeah, all in going to be around $4,000. Movers, we actually are only paying, so I did a $500 deposit, and the rest is, I think it's going to be like $1,400, which was great because I estimated like $2,500 for, so I'm very happy that it's cheaper. We also don't have like a ton of belongings and furniture to move. We did also pay for an HVAC assessment at the first house that we put an offer in on, and that was $163. And then we had home inspection number 2. Oh, my bad. Sorry, the home inspection thing is for both of the home inspections that we did. On the first house we put an offer in on, and then our house that we bought. That's both of them. And Matt and I, of course, split all of these. These are all split down the middle by Matt and I. And then the last is our internet setup, which we ended up getting Starlink because we're out in the country and we got the rebate. And obviously we need quick internet for me because I work from home and then also do YouTube. So we paid for that, and that was $281 to get all that sent to the new house. So those are our moving costs, and I'm glad I went over that because now when I make my budget for October, or like look over my budget for September, I kind of know what the wiggle room I need to have is. Now, let's go over, I guess, we'll go over super quick my budget for September. Some things to note. I didn't have to pay myself from the business this month, which I'm so happy about, and I'm sure another business owner on here will understand my happiness. It's great when you don't have to pay yourself from the business at all. Because I still have a corporate job, I can rely on that income, and I worked a lot this month because I took some business trips, so I was able to just live off of my corporate income, which I try and do when I can. Obviously, when you're like in a corporation or a business, all of my brand deal money and AdSense goes into my business account and it gets taxed from a business perspective, but then if I pay myself, it also gets taxed from a personal income tax perspective. So in a sense, I try and pay myself the least that I can because I don't want to be in a higher tax bracket because, I mean, I'll put a picture here, but we have different, I mean, I'm sure this is how it works in the States too. We have different tax brackets, and I don't want to be in a higher one. I also get additional taxes taken off my paychecks. I think extra $200 a paycheck just to make sure that I owe less because last year I ended up owing a ton. And I also contribute to my RRSP. So anyways, it sounds silly, but I'm really happy that I didn't have to pay myself this month. But that being said, I'm able to do that because a lot of our expenses are tax deductible from the business, like my car repairs, mileage, business trips that we take, our internet, stuff like that, I'm able to put through the business, and so it does make my personal bills and subscriptions a bit lower. For example, my car needed work this month. That, because I use my car primarily for business, I was able to pay for that with the business. And so anyways, I'm sure a business owner out there gets it, but I was so happy that I didn't have to pay myself this month. But anyways, I'm gonna share with you guys my September budget wrap up. This is my September budget. Like I said, I'm just gonna go kind of rapid fire through this because I normally do them separate, but it's flowing this month together. As you can tell, my paychecks were a lot higher for my corporate job this month, like I said, so I didn't have to pay myself anything from the business, which was honestly great. And then I got that $1,400 retro pay. Expenses were higher because moving, and then also guilt-free spending. So that alone took up $1,500. But other than that, like if you take out those two costs, super happy with you know, my credit card this month. $1,200, that's like a really awesome amount to be at. Bills and subscriptions were the same as usual. Like I said, for October, I just don't really know what the bills are going to be like yet, so I'm keeping a pretty big buffer in my checkings, and I'll update you guys once I have those new bill amounts. But overall, really good. Groceries, I was under budget, which I was really happy about. You guys know that's something that you've probably seen me work on throughout the year and get better and better at. Meal delivery was a little bit over, but that's okay. It's just because we flip-flop between HelloFresh and Chef's Plate. Eating out, I ate out a decent amount this month, but a lot of it was for work, so that was like work reimbursed me for that. I went to a lot of coffee shops, but a lot of it was when I was in Toronto. Appointments, I did get my nails done, but I always pay cash at $65 for that. Health and wellness, pretty good. Shopping, pretty good. This was shopping aside from my guilt-free spending, by the way. Treating others, I don't know if this is, we'll have to look into it. The kids were a bit more expensive this month. Salem had a vet bill. Salem is my horse, so I'm responsible for all of his vet bills, so I paid that. Gas, a little bit higher this month too. Just with, I feel like I just did a bit more driving this month. Home, we didn't spend any money on, which was great. We actually sold some stuff, which I didn't even put, like I should get better about putting like Facebook Marketplace purchases in here, but it's just in my checkings account. Nothing on wedding engagement. Books, pretty average month. Alcohol, pretty average. Guilt-free spending, we'll break that down. And then I had to pay a moving deposit, so paid that out of pocket because we obviously haven't gotten any money for the house yet. I was able to put some money into savings, which was great. Because I got $1,400 for that retro pay, I only spent about $571 of that. I just threw the rest into my rainy day savings, which is my version of my emergency fund, because like I said, it needs some replenishing after the house deposit and stuff like that. I did my minimums with my investments and happy with that. And then I guess we can go through the transactions and see. I love this spreadsheet because I can really just go here and go expenses, and you can kind of like break it down. Yeah, nothing really out of the ordinary, to be honest. Ninja Creamy I bought with my little raise, I guess you could call it. We got Zach Bryan tickets with my raise, and that was the two major purchases that I knew I wanted to do if I got that raise in time. I didn't know I was getting it because we got emailed and it said like it'll be in your account either before September 14th or on September 14th, so I kind of knew that was coming. Otherwise nothing out of the ordinary. It was like a super average month. I got some returns. Yeah, I had a big Amazon stock up, but it's always like I feel like I do one a month that has a bunch, whether it's like protein bars, tea, electrolytes. Like I kind of just do one big one a month, I feel like. Yeah, vet bill, weekly groceries, moving. Yeah, pretty average month. I will say I'm getting pretty disappointed with HelloFresh because now they charge you a shipping fee, like a $10 fee, which is getting like $81 is kind of expensive, honestly, for 3 meals a week. So I might go back to Chef's Plate, but yeah, otherwise, like I said, just a very average month. Anyways, that's the September budget. Wait, there's something so cute about this pile of books, even though it looks like it's about to topple over, probably because it is. Although I have a feeling the camera's gonna have a hard time staying focused on my face during this. And also, where am I gonna put the book covers? So we might not be able to stay here. Actually, maybe I can just pivot over a little. Anyways, remember when I just closed my laptop? I had to open it back up because all my book reviews are on here. Let's jump into it. I feel like it was a month of a lot of horror reads. I was like really in my horror element. First one is The Coworker by Freida McFadden, which if you guys know, Freida McFadden is one of my favorite thriller authors. Like she's an auto-buy author for me. This book was the biggest letdown of my freaking life. I feel like all of my thriller anticipated releases for this year have really sucked, honestly. This is about Dawn and also Natalie. And Natalie is like the beautiful hot girl sleeping with her boss. And then Dawn is basically strange. Everyone calls her strange. Natalie and Dawn obviously don't really get along. Natalie makes fun of Dawn, and then one day Dawn doesn't show up to work and she gets this like really creepy anonymous call. She goes to Dawn's house, she realizes that Dawn is missing, and yeah. Truthfully, it fell really flat. The twists were not twists at all. The narrator annoyed the living shit out of me, and it just felt very poorly executed. Like it felt like she needed to release a book, so she just made this really quick, and it doesn't even feel like it was written by Freida McFadden because she's such an amazing author. And I hated the representation of individuals on the spectrum. Like it was just so bad to me, so bad. So anyways, that was the first book I read this month. Then I read The Invited by Jennifer McMahon, and this is definitely a new auto-buy author for me. I give this 3.75 stars and I loved it. It's a great introduction if you want to transition from thriller to soft horror and paranormal. This is about Helen and Nate, and they basically leave suburbia behind to build a house in like rural, remote Vermont. And the land is haunted, and they're building a house and they're taking elements from other like haunted places and putting it in their house. So their house is like mega haunted. Helen is like learning about the girl who died on the property like in the 1800s. And yeah, I don't think like, I definitely think this is more thriller and mystery than it is horror. Like even the paranormal elements weren't really scary to me. But I've never met an author who blended together past and present timelines so well. And I don't like past present timelines because I feel like they're almost always poorly executed. But this was so well done. It was super chilling, super eerie. I personally guessed the big plot twist, which is why I just didn't really rate it any higher. But I loved her writing style, the short chapters. If you like ghost stories that turn into thrillers, kind of like The House Across the Lake or whatever by Riley Sager, you'd really like this author. And yeah, it was like a slow burn, subtle scaries. Loved it. And then I read The September House by Carissa Orlando, which was a debut novel. I give this 3.25 stars. This is about Margaret and Hal who buy their dream house. It's like a 19th century Victorian home. The house is haunted, but every September the hauntings get worse. Like the walls are bleeding and all this stuff, and her husband goes missing and her daughter comes to like help figure out where the dad went. The plot itself, like 4 or 5 star. I think it was great and well done. Once again, the only reason I rated it lower is because I guessed the twist like from the get-go. And honestly, I don't really have great critical thinking skills, so if I can guess the plot, it's like kind of over for me. It just takes away some of the surprise element. I still loved reading it, but it just takes away that like suspense of like, oh my gosh, like what's the twist when you already kind of figured it out. I did find the plot got a little slow and repetitive at times, but once again, for like a debut novel, absolutely amazing. And also a super unique plot, honestly, stunning gothic horror debut. Then I read Mad Honey. I picked this up at the airport. Everyone was DMing me, oh my gosh, it's the best story I read all year, amazing. I give this like 2 stars. I just really did not like at all, and I'll tell you why. Olivia's starting over, okay? She had like the perfect life in Boston, married to a doctor, has kids, blah blah blah. Then they get divorced. She starts over in like a little small town. Anyways, her son Asher is dating this girl named Lily, and then Lily is found dead and Asher's like being questioned for the murder. I don't know what this book was trying to be, if it was trying to be a thriller, lit fic. I don't know. This is my first Jodi Picoult book. I don't think I'm going to read another one, to be honest. It was like giving Colleen Hoover vibes to me. Not good. This book took every sensitive subject and like put it into one book, which like obviously sensitive subjects when done right can be a really educational thing, really thought-provoking, but there was just so many of them in this book that I was just like so overwhelmed, and like the trigger warnings are through the roof for this book. The structure of it I felt was very poorly executed. Like the past and present, or the past timeline did not do anything for the story. Very repetitive, and I just did not think that the execution of the sensitive subject matter was done well at all. So that's how I feel about that book. It will be donated. Then I read my first higher than 3-ish stars book, which was Maggie's Grave, which is on Kindle Unlimited as well. This was a 4-star read. This was so fun, but I will preface by saying I love campy slasher movies, which is why I loved this book. Like, the reviews on Goodreads are super mixed because if you don't like campy horror movies, you won't like this book. This is about a small Scottish town called, I'm gonna butcher this, Auchinmullen, and it's basically like a ghost town. It's deserted. There's like 47 people that live on it, and there's this hill in the town. I feel like it's like I pictured it as like this like cowboy deserted town with like a hill on the top, and there's a grave, and the grave says Maggie Wall was buried here as a witch. And it's about these like, I think it's four or five like teens, early 20s, who, you know, there's not much to do because there's 47 people that live there, and they all decide to get drunk one night and go up to the mountain, and then two of them like start banging on the grave. Anyways, yeah, basically, apparently it's actually based on a real grave in Scotland, which is like the only witch monument left in the UK. Folk horror, campy, B-lish, slasher, gory book, and I loved it. I loved the twists. I love witch horror now apparently, and it's basically just, it's like one night. It's like one dragged out night, kind of like Survive the Night by Riley Sager. Like, it takes place over like 10 hours, and it's basically them like running and hiding from this killer witch ghost. And honestly, it was so fun to read, and I couldn't put it down. And to me, that's part of like the fun of reading a book, is like how I felt reading it, and I had a blast reading it. So highly recommend for spooky season. Then I read The Stranger Upstairs. I originally gave this 3.75 stars, but I can't remember anything about the book, so I'm gonna give it 3 now. This is about a social media influencer who buys a murder house to renovate, and it was a debut novel. I remember it being like creepy, atmospheric, and fast-paced, but I couldn't tell you a single detail about this book, which is how I know it just like doesn't really stand out to me. And I liked the first half a lot. The second half started reading more as a popcorn thriller to me, and so I was kind of like meh. But yeah, I give it 3 stars, maybe like 2.75 honestly, because I just don't remember anything about this book. The star of the show, House of Hollow by Crystal Sutherland. This book was so weird, but I loved it so much. And like I said, I mentioned earlier, this is about Iris and her 2 older sisters. As children, they disappeared on a Scottish city street to return a month later with no memory of where they've been. Yeah, one of her sisters goes missing, leaves behind bizarre clues to her whereabouts, and her 2 sisters are left to find her. It was like one of those books that I finished, and then I had to go back and read the last like 3 chapters again, because I was like, what the actual F did I just read? Like, I was like mind blown by this book. Super dark, creepy, but also a thriller, but also like feminine somehow, and then also some magical realism in there. I feel like if you like Stranger Things, you would love this. Like, this book reminds me a lot of Stranger Things, how it's like urban, I don't even know what you call this, like not urban fantasy, but like there's like a weird other world out there, but also like urban realism, I guess, like urban fantasy in the sense that it takes place in the real world, like an urban dark fairy tale meets thriller meets gothic vibes. But if you like Stranger Things, you would love this book. And yeah, I just thought it was so weird, but I could not put it down, and a bunch of you guys actually said the same on Instagram. So yeah, but those were all the books that I read in like late August, early September. That is the reset for October. I hope you guys enjoyed. I feel like there was just some good chaotic chatty energy in this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Now I need to find a home for these books. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys are as excited for the moving vlogs as I am, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye!